I think we should probably start a podcast.
Yeah,
right?
man.
Yeah, and just FYI for those listening, if you hear some whined pants,
Yeah, we got another guest this time.
I was to say it's not Alec.
yeah,
It might be.
my dog actually
No.
decided to stay home this weekend and not spend the weekend at Grandpa and Grandma's. So we do have Odin in the building today. So apologies ahead of time in case he tries to get into this rat's nest of wires we have going here. We
Or
might
drink our beers.
if you hear an "Oh Odin, no, oh God," and then it cuts out.
Welcome to another episode of the American Beer Review Podcast.
Good times with good friends requires good beer. Lucky for us, we know how to pick all three.
We're a group of friends who grew up in the Pacific Northwest, giving us a jump start on our craft beer journey.
Join us today while Brian,
Alec,
And Chad.
reviews some beer, talk about beer topics, and whatever else comes up. We invite you to pour yourself a drink and hang out with us.
Just know we'll be back after some clearing up some technical difficulties. That said,
yeah, pouring out today. We got a beer, and thank you, Thor, for doing the heavy lifting on this one because I did not do a damn thing to get ready for today. You want to hand me your glass?
yeah, you were out seeing the people. You're out giving us some content.
Yeah, no, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute.
But first, what we are pouring as a starter beer from Perennial Artisan Ales, we have their Pils.
A hoppy pilsner at 5%. Brian is going to look up to see if he's ever had it before or how many of his friends have ever had it.
You know me too well.
But 5%'s perfect for a pilsner.
I feel like I don't know how to spell perennial.
You want the can?
Let's just test my own spelling capabilities here. I think I made it.
1R.
Yeah, that's actually where it was, what I was trying to figure out.
Okay.
Like, or is it, I couldn't tell. Like, I was in my brain, I was like, perennial?
No, 1R, 2 N's.
Out of St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis. So we're getting closer to Tulsa.
Oh, yeah. I feel like I've heard of this brewery,
Shocking.
but I just don't think I don't think I've ever had any of their stuff.
Since you did bring up Tulsa, and we didn't get to
Who
it.
brought up Tulsa?
I just brought up Tulsa.
Oh,
I said
getting
it like
closer.
two and
That's
a half,
right.
two and a half seconds ago.
He read the show notes.
Listen, man, when I'm reading, I don't pay attention.
We unfortunately didn't get to it when we had the captain in the building, but we did mint an
New brewery
amendment.
term.
An amendment to the beer rules, our beer encyclopedia, in honor of there being at least 10 breweries in
I was
Tulsa,
going to say,
Oklahoma.
I have quibbles with this, but I'll stand by it.
But the nice thing about a metric like this is we can change it.
You mean because it's something we've made up ourselves?
Yes. So a quantity of 10 breweries from now on should be called the Tulsa of breweries.
And it's not because there are 10 breweries in Tulsa.
There
it's
are
because
more 10.
That's what I'm
more
saying.
than
It's
10 in
because
Tulsa.
I was wrong and it's just come up so many times.
Yes.
This is why. We're not it's not a
I feel like we're continuing to trash Tulsa by calling 10 breweries. So Ballard has Tulsa and a half of breweries.
about
Yeah,
a Tulsa and a
You know,
half.
And Seattle's what, 6 Tulsas? Of
Yeah, pretty
breweries?
close to 6 Tulsas.
And-
Tacoma's got
2 Tulsas.
No, they don't have 2 Tulsas. I think they're just they might just be one Tulsa.
Wait, Tulsa always has one Tulsa beer. It's like a mole of atoms.
Okay.
A
Okay.
mole.
Oh,
is
yeah.
just-
So maybe we do need to find how many there actually are. So then we have to watch it every time it changes. Then we got to
we have to adjust our kilogram.
So right now
Okay.
there's one Tulsa in Ballard, but next year it could be
0.7.
yes, there could be 0.7 Tulsas.
I'm-
That's a lot of math. I don't like the
I'm
math
telling
on
you.
that.
I'm telling you, there are more than 10 breweries
Yes,
in
I
Tulsa.
know. Speaking of Tulsa,
Sure.
it's been a while now, but I found a Tulsa beer in the wild.
Where?
Didn't I tell you about this already?
Probably.
Yeah, see?
It-
Who's
it-
not paying attention now?
Yeah.
May have been drinking beer at
yeah,
the time.
it's also that's probably a good thing. We were at Capital Cider
in Seattle.
And we're back.
Okay, so now we know there's a new issue of having a dog.
Bad dog.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So we were at Capital Cider in Seattle for my wife's birthday. It's they're all gluten free, like the food, and so they have ciders, but they also have beers on tap.
Okay.
And I was with my friend from Tulsa
Okay.
and was like, "Hey, isn't that beer
From Tulsa?
from Tulsa?" And he was like, "Yes, it is." So I got it. It was pretty boozy. It was a dark, so it's from Prairie Ales. And it was a very dark, very boozy beer. I'd have to look it up. I'm just seeing my picture of it now. But yeah, I did find a Tulsa Beer in the
Tulsa
Wild.
beer review.
And that's why I got confused when you brought out this Perennial, is because I was confusing the name with Prairie, thinking that you actually did get one from Tulsa. Which, by the way, this is a fantastic Pils. Pilsners are not one that, like, craft Pilsners. I think we've talked about this before. I don't order them just on my own very much.
There's not usually a ton of differentiation between them. Like
Right. It's hard to, like...
the difference between a good Pilsner and a great Pilsner is a narrower band than a lot of other styles.
Yeah, I could see that. But when you find a good one, and especially I think this is the type that I like, is the hoppy kind, where it adds a little bit more kind of punch to it. Than just your standard kind of Pilsner.
Because it's got a super hoppy nose to it, like smelling it.
And then it evaporates clean.
Yeah, because you'd think it, based on the smell, you'd think it drank like a IPA.
So if I wasn't, that's exactly what I was going to say. If I wasn't looking at it and just a smell, I would put it more as like an IPA.
Yeah.
The cleaner. No, it's definitely
super
a
clear
Pilsner lager type beer, but the smell, if you told me it was an IPA, I would have bought that, and
it's solid.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so if somebody told you this was a cold IPA, would you believe them?
No, it's thinner than even the cold IPA. I mean, the one cold IPA that I've had so far.
Yeah.
It's... Looking at it, it's a Pilsner or a lager for sure. It's just too clear for that, I think.
Yeah, I think I would be kind of like, oh, really? Like, I don't know that I would be bold enough to be like, no, you're absolutely wrong. I would maybe think like, okay, just they didn't quite hit all the marks on it, but like I could kind of see what they were aiming for. But yeah, I dig it. It's a good one.
Yeah, this is if you had a prototypical starter beer, this would be it.
And that's a good point. I was kind of thinking that same thing, that it's a good
for a craft starter beer.
Yeah, it's almost a little. I was thinking as like a kind of like a palate refresh, like beer to have through some other wild ones. Probably the hoppiness of it though, like maybe negates that just a little bit. But I'd be fine if someone's like, hey, you're switching between really flavorful ones and this one. I'm not mad about it. I think it'd work.
You said St. Louis?
Yeah.
So this would be one.
They are in the belly of the beast.
Yeah, so for sure. This would be one if you were at a semi-business or fancier dinner, right?
Oh, yeah.
And somebody's ordering a beer, or you're ordering a round of beers. Like, if you went for this, you're not ordering a Coors Light,
right?
Or whatever.
Right.
It's got a little crafty to it. Somebody's gonna go, oh, all right. You know your appreciation for the beer, but you're also not getting yourself into too much trouble in.
I wonder
that kind of a situation.
About someone who's only into macro, what they would think of a beer like this.
Well, the captain is in Australia, so we can't ask him.
Because that would be a great question to be like, hey, how does this kind of fit in with that? And I mean, I don't think anyone's going to make a full switch just on this one alone.
You're not going to replace this with.
But I could see, like, you're at a place that, like, somebody who's like, oh, I only drink Busch Light. Well, hey, grab one of these. It's close enough. You'll be like, but
Especially
better.
if it's on draft.
Sorry, close enough sounds like I'm
if this was on
demeaning
draft,
this.
Yeah.
that barrier to entry for that
Yeah.
individual will be way less.
Yeah.
So kind of speaking with, this is at a 5, so this is a nice start beer, start the your day off. But if you worked at a brewery, like our friends at Kolschen,
Okay.
maybe you don't want something that's 5. Maybe you want something like 2.5. Something you get that beer taste equally refreshing without, burning yourself out because you've been working a full shift at the brewery.
So you're going like in between an NA and a light beer.
Yes. Because our
feel
friends
like
at Kolschen have come up with that. Brian sent that article in.
I think we've dumped out beers for only being 2.5% that we've made.
When we were making them ourselves, we're just going to figure out how to make it work.
Well, I'm also certain in a proper brewery with stainless steel equipment everywhere, they're not concerned about bacteria on a 2.5. They know it's nice and clean.
They know they did it right.
Yeah, our system was a little iffy.
Oh, no, very iffy.
Yeah. But and this is kind of a trend like in the low ABV.
Yeah. And so this one is 2.5%, 100 calories per pint. They're calling it a cold IPA. So not even just like a pilsner or something, but you're potentially getting some flavor with that really low ABV. We've talked a lot lately about the push to NA and like that kind of change. I mean, I think 10 years ago, us would have never willfully touched an NA beer.
Well, 10 years ago, the options were O'Doul's
Right.
And
I think also when we were going to a brewery, we were all looking for, like whatever is going to give us the most booze for our buck.
Right.
And now, like, this to me is a great kind of option. I talked on a podcast a couple weeks ago about getting this type of, I call them like a table beer from Structures when I was out.
Yeah.
And it was like a 3.8% beer.
And that's what these, they use that same terminology kind of for their thing. It'd be a very...
Oh, they called it a shift beer.
Shift beer, but same idea, just something...
To have during your shift.
Yeah. Or I think there are some places that have tap rooms / restaurants, and they're just bringing out a pitcher of this table beer.
Right.
But yeah, for me, it makes it a little easier to justify like, oh, I just want one more, right at the end of the night, and you're getting like that's what you're adding on, like, and I think that's the same thing I did with that Structures beer was like you get the look from your wife, like, oh, you ordered another one, and you're like, no,
it's like half a beer.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, we're good.
It's like so Miller 64 was like in that 2% range, but it just tasted like watered down beer because probably what they did. You could not drink it fast enough to get drunk.
Oh, right.
So this is an interesting idea where physically a person typically won't be able to drink a pint of liquid.
Challenge me.
I know, well, we're professionals, obviously. front loading the first 3 pints is easy, but after that, then there's a space issue. But being able to go out and have a long dinner with folks and be able to enjoy a beer or something beer adjacent, if it doesn't for a certain person, some people are going to drink a 2.5% and go, this isn't beer to me.
It follows more of like a European style where you're not having soda with dinner, but you don't want something that's going to get you drunk. You just want something with some flavor, some character to it, and that's where that fills that niche a little bit.
I mean, for legit all day, like German beer hall drinking, like this is a better plan. I questioned saying this, but like it's almost like, this is your DD's one beer or something,
Yeah, you're going to have a beer with the boys, and if you're not going a full NA route and you don't want to drink a Coke,
God,
you can
that
have...
that is such a good point. Continue.
That you just... you can have one of these. You're going to be there for shoot, I think if you're there for an hour, this is going to be out of your system by the end of
Yeah.
it. So it fills that too. And I've done that with the cocktails.
Mm.
I'm not a big hard alcohol drinker, so I'll order, and I got called out for it, but like a Roy Rogers or Arnold Palmer.
Which are like cocktail looking, but no booze.
Because they look like a cocktail, but it's not actually booze
Yeah.
at work events.
Oh,
So like, yep, I've got a Roy Rogers. Everybody else has cocktails. I want to stay
like
cognizant of
Yeah.
what's going on. And then, why is there a cherry in there?
because
Well,
it's
it's a Roy Rogers. It's just basically a cherry Coke. And this could fill that same thing where, it looks like a beer. It basically, what is beer,
yeah.
but so you're fitting in with everybody, but then you're also,
I think that also speaks to the prevalence of like the NA options too. That people are having that. Well,
Way
some
more, yeah.
some places, some it's tougher still to find it. But
so there's way more options on the beer shelf. There's not as many flowing
depends.
into the bars and
Yeah.
tap rooms.
I looked it up. I just in general shops, I don't see distribution within 100 miles of us of this. I know it's new.
No, this was an online buy.
Okay.
No, the shift beer.
Oh, yeah. I have not seen any shift beer in.
I guess they're
cans.
calling it brewer's beer, but
Yeah, because they're. I think they probably they might be just ripping it right off the finishing tank almost.
I was gonna say, because
Yeah.
where did that phrase come from? I did zero
Which
research
one?
for this episode. Shift beer. So
Or-
are they pulling it like a not fully fermented beer? Is that
no,
where it came from? No, not now. I'm
But
just saying
I think
where.
it's probably like in the vein of cask ales that you would see some serving options that there would just be a wooden cast behind the bar.
cask.
Cask, yeah, sure.
But
That word.
you understand what they mean by this for a shift beer is this is the beer that they can drink while they're brewing the beer.
That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
was it?
It's like
D-
year
does it-
one
does it-
shift beer.
Does it
Yes.
originate from like they were pulling it partially fermented, or they specifically brew? They did not. They did not specifically brew a beer just for you to drink while you're at work.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
that's-
awesome. I
but-
want to
yeah,
work for that company.
But I
Like-
but I think your idea is correct. Also, because when you're brewing, you're continually checking.
right.
Well, is the fermentation stuck? Where are we at here? So yeah, there probably were some master brewers. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Hey, we think this beer's probably about 2%. Steal. I'm
Yeah, Just
I'm
give it
sure
to the
it happened.
employees. We
Well-
can't sell it.
on the books officially. No, that never happened. But I'm
This is from the article from Kendall Jones in the Washington Beer Blog, but it says the name suggests that the brewery designed this beer to satisfy the cravings of the brewery's staff, who presumably were looking for something tasty and also profoundly sessionable to drink at the end of a long day working in the brewery.
End of a long day.
I think that's a technicality,
Right.
Like a thing there, but
so sort of in the same vein. Speaking of folks who are getting NA beer out on the shelves,
Okay.
Crux, as we mentioned earlier, there was a more in-depth article we found with the head brewer. I'm gonna pull up his name because I want to get his name right. Screw that
Yeah, don't
up.
butcher this one again.
Yeah, Jesus.
the Crux Indian beers have been probably my favorites so far. I think when balancing the NA option and the calorie intake.
Bravis is what I go through.
And I almost grabbed one the other day, and I probably still will try one.
Yeah.
But it was the Cruxes run about 30 calories a can,
Yes.
and the Bravis were anywhere between 80 and 100.
Yeah, they're a little bit more.
So if you're cognizant of that, like, and I have another friend who's cutting beer out and saw me posting at one and saw like it only had like 2 carbs in it. He was super
Right.
pumped about having like
Yeah.
a beer adjacent option that would fit in that kind of realm. Did you find his name?
Yeah, Larry Sador. So he's head brewer and one of the co-founders at Crux Fermentation. There really wasn't like a lot of technicality, like, oh, here's how we get rid of the booze. Like there was like 4 or 5, a bunch of options.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want to feel like doing the research on the science behind it. But regardless, his methodology is alcohol is a solvent for flavors. Yes, Odin, I know. So when you remove alcohol, there are certain flavors that can't be imparted into the beer.
Okay.
So that's what early NA beers were missing, because they were just, let's take the booze out without worrying about the flavor, the abilities for the beer to absorb flavors.
Okay.
So that's his thing on when Crux goes and does the Nomo IPA. How do we build a beer without alcohol
That still has the flavor.
that still has those alcohol flavors? And they said there are some yeast that
can help.
can ferment without making booze and stuff like that.
Oh.
But that's the thing. But
I don't. That seems.
I don't know that is
I don't know,
how the science works. I mean,
there's
I don't know.
There's
but
so many kinds of, like, there's yeast that will poop out plastic. I mean, there's this that it's a wild one.
I
West there.
also don't know that is true.
I don't know.
I'm not a science guy, so I'm gonna stay out of this. I
Regardless,
trust science. I just don't understand it.
We are kind of in a renaissance of NA as people realize, okay, now we can do an NA beer and impart flavors that we normally associate with high ABV, like IPA. I think that's why they went specifically to do this IPA first.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, and that's where I was going to go, because with when I go for NA beers, I go for the flavorful ones, because that was the problem. O'Doul's is basically like a non-alcoholic Bud Light. So you're going, you don't have a ton of flavor and there's no booze in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could just drink a Sprite.
Yeah.
Right. So I tend to go for the NA IP now, and that's why I like Bravas, because they have the Gosa and an IPA, and they have a stout.
I think that's the key too. Is like having like an NA Gosa. Like
Right.
you're getting something beyond just those basic beer flavors.
Right.
And that even an IPA can help with that, but you can tell some that do a better job or not.
Right.
Like
Well, it's something that I'm not going to slam.
yeah.
So an IPA, a Gosa, a stout that they all have NA options for. This is going to be a sipping beer for me anyway.
Yeah.
So the fact that it takes me an hour or whatever, so to kill it is fine, because that's what I would have done if it had booze in it in the first place.
Right.
Drinking a non-alcoholic light beer, I'm going, well, what's the point? It's now just empty calories.
Yeah.
Oh, that is. That was the one thing I was a little bummed about. It was like 2.5%, but still 100 calories a pint. It's like,
oh, see, I'm not mad about that though.
That's not terrible.
For most of the low calorie beers that are around, like the boozy low calorie, the best you're getting of craft beers is like maybe 90 calories.
Yeah, but or I could go with you could get a 4 or 5% and it's 120 to.
Right.
It feels like it. There probably is a minimum number of calories to get the flavor that you need in beer.
It's probably true.
Yeah. Odin, you are really
he's
testing.
Yeah.
Testing his limits here.
He found the power button, and so now he knows he can put his toy by the power button, and people will pay attention to him. He's not.
So before we get into, because we don't have a ton of, again, I didn't do any heavy lifting here. Thor's probably got a couple articles to talk through. I just got back from Vegas.
There we go. Let's do this.
I'm too old for Vegas.
Whoa! It took
how many days were you in Vegas?
That's a good start.
That's a good start. 4, which is way too many.
You're already past 72 hours.
The first 3 days were for work.
Yes,
but that means I'm not just pacing myself. I'm there for work.
Yeah.
So I work all day, whatever.
Yeah, do dinners every night.
Night. I was in bed by 11 in Las Vegas for the first 3 nights. I don't know that I have it in me anymore. Like the last day. So my brother joined me. We spent the last night in Vegas. Then not for work, is like an extra day, so day of vacation.
So you guys were Vegas.
I thought so. And we were in bed by 11 o'clock. And in our heads, we're like, we'll just take a quick nap, and then we'll go back out and
power
rally.
nap, baby. Your money, you don't even know it.
And
You wake
I
up,
woke
the
up
alarm
at-
goes
I-
off, and God damn it.
no, I woke up at one point, looked over at him. He was fast asleep and went, that
Yep.
sounds like a lot better plan than getting dressed and going back out. And I don't know what it is. I just, old. But, I do know what it is. So it was Super Bowl weekend.
Mm.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
Tables were
You couldn't go find a $5 craps table.
okay. So no, $5 craps tables are eliminated.
Yep.
I've never seen those in the last handful of trips that I've ever been there.
Inflation's a bitch.
Right. But they were 25, and then by Friday night they were $50 tables. And yes,
Ew.
we were on the strip, but I'm going, a $50 craps table means, and we played $25 tables, but there was a couple times where I'm going, I have a car payment on
The table.
like that's a month's car payment sitting on the table, and a 7 craps comes out and it's wiped. And I had a real good night the last day of the show, picked up a few yellow chips, but the stress level of,
Oh my God, why is all that money out on the table?
why is all that money out versus the win just wasn't worth it anymore. And then you're in Vegas wandering around tired, not eating, and then not gambling. I'm going, what am I doing here?
Yeah. It is an interesting thing because there are people who go to Vegas and you're like, I mean, of us going through there for years, but there's people who you're like, oh yeah, we're going to Vegas. You're like, what do you do there?
So my favorite thing in Vegas, so I will still state that it's my favorite city in the world. I haven't been to New York, but I could probably rank that. I picture that as being there, but
Because there's just stuff all the time.
It's stuff all the time. My favorite thing to do in Las Vegas is grab a beer, or it could be a soda, even, whatever, but it's kind of the novelty being able to drink a beer, walk around outside in the streets. So grab a beer and at dusk or after dark and just walk up and down the strip. It's the lights, the people, everything there. That is literally so I tell people, like, you don't have to drink, you don't have to gamble, you don't have to do any of the other things in Vegas. Just walking up and down the strip, just seeing all of that is my favorite. Still is one of my favorite activities. But yeah, no, after 4 days there, I could not get on that plane fast enough and walk by my brother sitting in seat A1 as I was back in coach.
Yeah, I mean,
getting old sucks.
yeah,
Right?
But I haven't been to Vegas in a while. I've been thinking about it, but I had the same thing as you. It's like, what am I gonna do? Like, I want to go gamble and do all that stuff. But it's like the allure of, oh yeah, let's gamble till sunrise. No.
Well, because
then I'm gonna screw up my sleep schedule.
because it was not that many years ago. When did we go for the last race?
Yeah, we were.
Was 2019? I think.
no, it would have been.
No, I think it's 2019.
Yeah.
Was it? Yeah.
And when I intentionally ditched you guys.
Yeah. You
Because-
like faked us out.
Well, because
We all went back to the room thinking we were going to sleep,
someone
and then you were like,
who is
"And I'm
not
out."
in this room, but was also on the trip, was being obnoxiously drunk because
Oh,
he
yeah.
started well before.
Yeah. Too early.
Yeah, too early. So no, I ditched you guys. I was out until like 6 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
just gambling and
And that person who should not be named woke up at 6 a.m. to go have breakfast and then slams the door at 7:30. Hey, I'm up.
oh
Time to
yes, yes, no,
No,
exactly.
no.
No, I just got back home. Yeah,
I went last summer, but we went
Oh,
for
that's right.
like a people from around the country were all getting together to hang out for like an event.
yeah.
And so that was kind of fun. Like I think the latest we stayed out was like midnight-ish.
Yeah.
And we had to like duck away one or two times just to like once
Chill.
to try and just go like we did like $20 on slots. Like that's the only
Oh,
gambling
yeah.
we did. But it was because but I think why you still like Vegas is why it worked for us. There was stuff going on.
Yes.
There was always things happening, and that's part of why everybody came there for, an event, and there was different restaurants for us to all gather at or to meet to do. So it just worked out in that aspect. But not many people in that entire group did like Vegas.
Right.
It just became like, hey, here's a place, because we talked about like, well, why not
'Cause you
go
were
to
off
another
strip,
city?
right?
No.
Weren't you Old Vegas?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh, no. You were
So, but it was just like,
center of Vegas.
people are like, well, why not go to another city, maybe one that's more central in the country for people? And people are like, yeah, but like, there's just always the availability of something going on
well, and
compared to going to a random city in the middle of the country and trying to figure out, okay, like, well, do we go to this neighborhood? Well, they don't, nothing starts until 1:00. Like, do we
Right.
go to that neighborhood? Like Vegas there's always stuff happening. So you can find ways to entertain yourself.
And so again, I was there for work. We brought in 15,000 people, and the Super Bowl was the next whatever week. But most of the time, Vegas, it's $100 flight from almost anywhere in the country, and it's $100 or less hotel room, depending on where you want to stay.
Yeah, that's
So it's super cheap to bring in just a ton of people any time of the year. There's just so much capacity that
Mhm.
it's fun. I usually give myself a few weeks after a Vegas trip
To like
before I-
reset.
before I think about it, because not always. The goal is to leave Vegas wanting to go back to Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
So don't do too much Vegas, and that's where Thor's 72 hours.
Yes.
And I've done single nights in Vegas where I didn't bring any luggage. I literally went down in the clothes, slept in my clothes, and then caught a plane ride the next morning.
Wow.
Yes.
Don't judge. That was a very judgy wow.
That was a tactical decision.
No, we did it intentionally. We were
Yeah.
just going to Vegas for a night.
I think my bachelor party we were like maybe 48 hours.
That was a pretty
And it
quick
was-
turn.
It was
Yeah.
perfect.
And that was the one that cemented you always get picked up by a limo at the airport.
Yeah.
My brother has never taken a cab from the airport.
Because it
The-
is the same price, if not cheaper.
The cabs are a racket.
Oh,
I mean, nowadays I'll use like an Uber, but like
once you get to 4 or 5 guys, it is.
that's when it's definitely.
Did I send you guys the
price
picture?
worth it.
We took for work. Maybe they. don't
Yes,
want
I
it.
saw it.
We
The
took
giant like SUV limo.
Oh, yeah.
SUV. It was like a lifted F-350.
50 like
Yeah. But it was cheaper than splitting 6 cabs for the group that we had going there.
yeah.
We put
yeah.
20 people in the back of this car, and it was like $150 to go a quarter mile.
Oh well, when we
But-
went down, there was like 70 of us. We got buses.
Yeah.
Like to take us to places like, and for most of the food and different things that we had that whole weekend, I paid like $200 like for the group. So
It's not bad.
and the bus was a part of it. So
No, it's
Um,
not bad.
we got another beer over there.
Yeah, we do. We have a
We
beer to
do.
actually review. Let me clear out
Yeah,
my glass.
enough with American Travel Review.
Yeah.
Let's review. So this beer, if everyone remembers Brian's description of mine and Alec's first impressions of Oakshire's
Oh,
sour.
cucumber. Yeah.
Our backup beer was this actual beer, and we had the exact same nonverbal communication of how good it was. Me and Alex.
This one?
yes.
No.
Oh,
This-
this is what you guys were just drinking.
Yeah, we were
on the
s-
backside.
This was our
Gotcha.
this
Okay.
was our backup beer for that episode.
Yeah. So
So this is
if people don't know, we review the beers, but like I have a Rogers Pilsner also sitting open that I'm just drinking on the side while we're splitting them. So
And this is from Mortalis Brewing. This is part of their 8-bit series. This is their Jupiter West Coast IPA.
at 6% alcohol by volume, so just a little bit heavier than the one we did for our starter beer. Keep
And-
cold, drink fresh, and don't age. So this they want you to consume as fast as
Yeah.
possible, which is
What's
business
the-
practice. What
does
are
it
you
have
looking
like a can date on the bottom?
I almost turned the can over and spilled it on the floor. 12, 21, 22.
Not
So
bad.
it's
Yeah, a few months. That's not bad though.
So Mortalis, they do a lot of interesting beers, and this 8-bit series was the best of my internet research. Is kind of a line of beers going, hey, let's make simple beers.
okay.
So let's do some examples of
Okay, I get
various
it. I get
styles.
it.
So this is their West Coast IPA. I have my eyeballs on some their normal line stuff. That looks very interesting.
Ooh, that is an interesting smell. Not
Yeah.
bad, not bad, but it's hops, but there's like almost a floral.
I got some thoughts.
Okay.
Number one, tasting it. This is a really good beer.
Okay, I haven't tasted it yet. I was just going on.
Well, except for the last time you had it. So, I agree with you. The I'm getting like in the aroma is like almost like a grapefruit, stone fruit, like something.
I'm getting apricot.
Yeah,
Yes,
there's kind of something going on there.
Oh, it's in my nose. Oh God.
You're not supposed to snort the beer,
dude? This is a really good beer. It's this is a quote unquote West Coast IPA brewed in New York.
Yes.
This
I've
is-
had this before.
Yeah, I think so.
No,
I thought so.
Yeah,
Maybe just Chad did.
you might have had a sip off of it, but I crushed one of these.
I'm pretty sure you
during the
had some of
Oakshire
it.
review.
I
yeah.
don't know that I've had this before.
All right. Well,
I'll go back and listen to tape.
this is a really good beer. It's not a West
regardless.
Coast. It's not a West
This
Coast
is
IPA.
not a West Coast IPA. There's too much fruit and
Yes.
yeah.
And not enough what? What kind of like
There's not enough hops. There's not enough of a bite.
it's
on
the
back.
piney.
Yeah,
It's
there's
the
not enough-
piney, like earthy kind of hoppiness that's missing for it to be a West Coast.
The pine is playing second fiddle.
Yeah, to the floral and the
it's underneath it all, but that goes back to Captain's point. IPAs up in our little corner of the states
Yeah.
are completely different from the West Coast style IPAs he's getting down in San Diego.
But
well, and even like remember years ago, Sam Adams came up with the Rebel IPA, which was their West Coast IPA, and we drank it and we were like,
I stole my name.
yeah, but we're like, this is not a West Coast IPA.
Yes.
And maybe it's a difference of like our West Coast, our Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe a San Francisco West Coast IPA is still different.
And I did not go look at the beer guide for a West Coast IPA.
Ooh, that's
but,
a good question.
But like all kind of categories for beer, they only list an IBU.
Which is deceptive when you get into
IBUs are
IPAs.
deceptive to flavor.
Yes.
So this probably does hit the IBU of a West Coast style IPA, but the hops they used are more fruity, more floral, less piney, less astringent. Because they are in New York, and the vibe, the people in New York might be not looking for that pine punch that we like up here.
Yeah, when Brian would know better than obviously me.
Odin is not trying out Jupiter in his bowl. That's water, folks.
It's not the Bush dog beer.
No, I could not sell him on that. I had to mix it with food.
No.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
Bone broth
Come
works
on.
better.
Come on, bro. But Brian would know better. If this was classified as, is it a hazy? It's not hazy, but it's something.
If this was a hazy
it's
IPA,
closer
all day.
to that than a Northwest IPA
I agree.
or a West Coast.
There's
IPA. Maybe we need to introduce that, a Northwest IPA.
Well, and when you look at like some of the style guidelines, I don't think they get that specific. I don't think there is a West Coast IPA style guideline.
Well-
There's just it fits into IPA. It's just you've swung hazy or you've swung New England or you've gone like
Well, and when we
West Coast
when we were making and entering beer competitions, it was just
IPA.
IPA.
Yeah, and
there
it still
wasn't
is
even a
because that's the BJCP guidelines is what we were following.
Right.
So that's a large swath of stuff that could fit under, and that's why you lose me as a West Coast person, particularly in the Pacific Northwest, for calling this a West Coast IPA.
Right.
But that is not to take away from the actual.
No, it's actually good. I just think it's misclassified.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because a West Coast IPA, particularly Northwesty version, is going to be much clearer than this. You're going to have a crisper, like pine hoppiness to it.
Right.
You're not going to have quite as much of the floral notes that this one has, or even the like fruitiness in the flavor profile.
No, very, very fruity.
I feel like I just like hit all the buzzwords from that meme that I posted about us a little while ago. I posted the one you shared of Borat.
It's nice.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
My wife.
Yeah, I think it's a great IPA. It's a good beer. I would agree. I'd like to know more about like that. If you've looked at some of their other stuff and it seems interesting, it'd be cool to check it out. But
their stuff is like it's I'm trying to think of a beer that we're familiar with, but it's just like I'm having a stroke again.
yeah,
I was going to say he's out.
I'm just gonna save you and change the topic here.
Okay. This is a hardback book. This is a soft cover book or a graphic novel.
Paperback is what they're called.
They're paperback. Yes, thank you. They're
Jesus,
making.
he might actually be having a
I might
stroke.
be having a stroke. They're making like that 3-inch thick encyclopedia novel. That's their other beers.
Mm.
Just big, like not weird but interesting flavor choices.
Okay.
I really am
like-
intrigued by this. That this is like the second or third that you've brought, where it's like a brewery within a brewery.
Yes, because they want to make some normal stuff. Because the other stuff is like
Oh,
8-9%.
So this is they're trying to appeal to more of the mainstream
Yeah,
instead
so
of just
yeah.
the.
I pulled it up. It says Mortalis because they're like a subsidiary of Mortalis.
Yes.
Mortalis 8-bit allows us to reconnect with our homebrew roots and appreciate more traditional styles that got us to where we
Yeah.
are today.
Well, that's for the
Expect
8-bit.
to see more classic styles we've come to know and love. Blah blah blah. So like instead of instead of French toast beer, this is like
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
they're
even
trying to do.
But even at that, so the 8-bit, they're trying to go.
They only have
simplify.
18 under the 8-bit. 18 beers.
It's a lot of beers,
Yeah, but it's like
but this is not a. Somebody hands you this and says this is a West Coast IPA,
Yeah.
or even somebody hands you this and goes, "This is a traditional style IPA."
Okay,
So
so
I'm going, it's good.
they say still with
But
their
you
twist
got-
on things.
And that's okay.
here, let me give you an example. Okay, so here is one of their non 8-bit beers. Tears of the Goddess.
Okay.
It is a carrot cake sour IPA. And then below that is Kratos, an imperial stout that showcases in-house roasted peanuts,
yeah, see
Dominican Reserve cocoa nibs, and our marshmallow treatment. So I mean,
So
That-
this is
that-
normal for them.
Yes,
that is their normal. This is if
we're gonna stick
what
to
is normal for us scares you. Here's some traditional beer.
Yeah, this is traditional
done very
from their perspective.
done very well from
Yeah.
their perspective.
they have 525 beers under their Just Mortalis brand.
Oh wow,
Yeah, and like
wow.
when you
Yeah.
go, we will announce prior to when we open each day for what the beer releases are. So it's
Oh,
it's
day to
literally
day.
yeah. So it's
Oh
it
jeez,
is like Hubbard's that
Yeah.
we talked about in the past, where it's let's see what sticks to the wall today, boys and girls.
We're at
Uh,
New York.
oh god,
Was it? I want to say
Avon.
Avon. Yep.
Oh
that's what-
yes,
that
I know
was stuck in my
exactly where
head.
that's at.
You do? Oh, I was like,
Yeah.
I'll open a map.
Just saying. If I talked
Uh,
about my love of Las Vegas, may
Yeah.
transmit into a lug of New York City.
Oh, dude, it's like fields around them.
Oh, so no, not at all.
I think kind of the. It's like isn't like New York the state? This like
Oh, dude, they're just-
farmland and then
Yeah,
New
yeah,
York
yeah.
City.
Yeah, they're just south of Rochester.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like 20 miles maybe south of Rochester. So this is upper upstate New York or no, I don't know.
Well,
Where? Not New York City.
yeah.
Well, thank you for tuning in this episode of American Geography Review. I would fridge this.
Oh, yeah. So
I have
Thank
I
you.
have the same opinion as you guys. When I read West Coast IPA, I did not taste West Coast IPA,
Yeah.
but that is a fantastic beer.
So you beer fridge it,
I-
or you main fridge it?
I would main fridge it.
Okay. And how did you get it? Because it's not in beer stores. You ordered this online.
This was a Tabor drop, along with the starter
Perennial.
today. But looking at their mainline stuff, obviously you got to get it over there or
Yeah.
in a bottle shop. I'm gonna double check. I haven't been to Total Wine since my run in with the Rona, but I will look out for this. It's a nice,
They're not going to
It's-
have this in Total Wine.
No, they will not.
but it's going to be easy to find. That is a bam. This is just
Oh,
the label jumps out at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep an eye out for it on. I got a couple other on bottle shops that I watch.
Both of these cans have really great kind of simple artwork.
Yes,
Mhm.
Compared to one of our last ones that was the like
Super complicated.
Yeah.
And shiny and whatever.
But these are clean, crisp, just kind of like
I think
simple.
this is our last episode that just came out.
Yeah, I think so too.
yeah. Like you walk into a store, I need the green can that says Pils,
Right.
or I want the yellow can that says Jupiter.
Yeah.
I love it. I also love fancy art, but sometimes simple's best.
Yeah.
So both of these were internet deliveries, right?
Yes.
I haven't seen them locally, although I haven't been in bottle shop in a few weeks. But East Coast beers gives me right.
Midwest, East Coast.
Okay, so gives me something. If I was in either the Midwest or the East Coast, I would absolutely feel like, oh yeah, no, I know what that tastes like. I know
Oh,
that
yeah.
I like it. I would grab it. The availability. So if it was available here, it would be a beer fridge beer. They need to visit the West Coast before they call it a West Coast style IPA. But it's a good, like juicy or hazy
Yeah.
IPA. It's a good IPA. I would throw a couple in my beer fridge, and like I said, if I was at a bar, saw this on tap, I would definitely throw it into the rotation.
Yeah, I'd see grabbing a 4-pack of this every like few months.
Yeah, just to have a couple on hand. You're not.
Yeah.
It's not going to be in every session. It's not
No.
going to be whatever.
But it's a good go-to, or you're going somewhere, you know, you can grab a solid 4-pack that most people are going to enjoy it as long as they're into some kind of IPA.
Yeah, no, it's a great transition. It's almost like a transition between
Like
not
a
light
blend?
beer, but somebody who's into like Hefeweizens or
Well-
something like that, and is looking for something a little more, but you're not going to hit them in the face with a piney, hoppy
Well, and
Northwest
that's-
IPA, and that's where Northwest IPA.
Yeah. No,
it's
just
not
West Coast.
there, or West Coast IPA. Sorry, but you could get somebody
Yes.
along that trail.
Which is what I've manipulated my sister into doing lately. She only drank like stouts
Right.
and like Rainier, and I have
It's not a bad
slowly
combination.
it's not the worst, but I slowly started to like say like, hey, if you see something that's hazy or juicy New England, like you can probably like she just doesn't like that West Coast IPA, the piney, bitter,
Right.
like those types of things. She's settled into it so kind of quick and simple that she was out with friends the other day, and one of them turned to her and was like, do you know that you just ordered an IPA? Like they thought she just
Oh,
like was
right.
blindly grabbing something. But yeah, so I think it's good. Solid one. I enjoyed it.
Did you fridge it?
you didn't
I don't think I
place it yet?
specifically said. So probably beer fridge, just because like I'm not getting it every time I see it, but I would have it frequently throughout the year, or at least like
On hand.
yeah. To me, it's kind of like back to the shiny objects from a few ago. Like
Okay.
if it's only released, you know, every
Seasonally.
spring, I would grab a 4-pack every time that it comes around. But I'm not like grabbing a case or a flat.
Yeah.
And
I was going
doing
to say, yeah, because I'm assuming this is one of their year-round. The 8-bits are all year-round beers. So
Yeah.
if it was seasonal and it came out seasonally, it would be a go-to.
Yeah. Like
grabber.
when it's available.
Yeah, when it's
It
available.
looked like it was checked in pretty regularly on Untapped.
So
when I
if
looked
it
at
shows up at my grocery store or bottle shop, I would grab one. But it's a beer fridger for me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our glasses are. Oh, Thor's got his down. Brian's got his down. Our glasses are empty. Hopefully yours are too. And we will see you next time.
Damn it, Kyle Larson.
I started the track like on 15 minutes too, so I was off.
Oh,
Frost Chastain though, baby. At least get.
Odin,
another
no, Odin, off,
Odin, come on, thank you.
5
God.
laps. At least get me one victory point.
Hey,
dude.
come on, mi amigo. Let's go outside. Come on.
Shit, start to a season.
If you enjoyed what you just heard, make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on social media at A Beer Review. And send us any beer review suggestions for us to review.